What is up, guys? This is QREM from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm going to bring all of you guys my Resonator slash Red Dragon Archfiend deck profile for this November 2015 format. Now, I really do like Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and because of that, I decided it was fair enough that I should build the Resonator deck that theoretically accompanies this card right here. Again, because they decided to try and make Resonators a deck in the High Speed Riders set, releasing a lot of new Resonator support. So again, I thought it was very fitting to try and make the deck because again, this card is slowly becoming my new favorite synchro. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the deck profile. Of course, starting off with the monster lineup. So we're going to start off with the Resonators. We're going to start with 3 copies of the Red Resonator. Now, this card is the best Resonator by far, simply because it's a generic Satellar Knight Vega. Being a level 2 tuner itself, you can use it to get potentially into your 1-card level 6 synchro plays, which is really cool. And also, whenever you special summon it, you can target any monster on your side of the field, and then gain life points equal to that monster's attack. So again, it also kind of helps, because we do run a couple of cards in this main deck that do burn ourselves for some life points. And so again, it's good to have that ability with Red Resonator to kind of, I guess you could say, get those cards to become free. So yeah, that is why we are running 3 of him. Then, following up, we have 3 copies of the Synchron Resonator, because the way this deck is trying to function, you are trying to synchro climb continually with your synchro monsters in order to get to bigger synchro monsters. And because of that, that's where Synchron Resonator really just does help, because it is a simple level 1 tuner, and whenever you do control a synchro monster on your side of the field, you can simply special summon the Synchron Resonator from your hand. And so again, it just really helps you with those synchro climbing plays. And then on top of that, whenever you do send it from the field to the graveyard, you can target any other Resonator in your grave and add it to your hand. So it also keeps your Resonators continually looping from your grave to your hand, so that you can constantly pump out your big synchro monsters, which again is really cool, and it's also why we are running 3 of him as well. So yeah, we have 3 copies of the Synchron Resonator. Then we also have 2 copies of the Creation Resonator. Now, I used to run 3 of this guy, but I slowly realized that the only real uses this card does have is to help you establish multiple Synchro monsters on your side of the board, and to also just help you get into Red Nova Dragon. And because it isn't as versatile as the previous 2 Resonators, I decided to make it go down to 2 copies. Again, it is really good, though, that you can use this card to establish multiple Synchro monsters on your side of the board. But again, I really didn't feel like 3 was necessary, as I felt like it can clog potentially. As again, also, you really want to see the other 2 Resonators before this one a lot more than this Creation Resonator itself. So that is why we are running 2 copies. And then for the final Resonator I decided to run, I'm running 1 copy of the Chain Resonator, because past maybe turn 2 or so, your normal summons won't really matter. And because of that, it's really good to have some kind of normal summon in this deck. And this card is just a free +1 if you ever do normal summon it whenever you do have another Synchro monster on your side of the field. As essentially you can use it to just special summon any other Resonator from your deck to your field, which again is really cool. It can clog though, because again, you have to have another Synchro monster on your side of the field, as well as you have to have a normal summon. So because of that, I felt like you really didn't want to have multiples, and I felt 1 was just fine. So that will be it for the Resonator lineup. Moving on to the final other tuner of this deck, I am running 1 copy of the Glow Up Bulb, because it's just a really easy recursive tuner that we can use for, again, our big synchro climbing plays. So I felt it was just fitting, again, to have this included in the deck. So that will round us off from all of our tuners in the deck. Moving on to the more generic monsters, we have 3 copies of Red Sprinter. Now, this card is really cool because it kind of functions as a wolf bark of the deck. You can normal or special summon this card, and then special summon any level 3 or lower Fiend tuner from your grave or your hand. And you have to have no other monsters when you activate this effect, besides, of course, Red Sprinter on the field. So again, it's another way to get into your 1-card synchro plays. And again, it kind of functions very much like Red Resonator, although this one isn't searchable. But again, like I said, because how it functions like the Red Resonator, we also want to see this card ASAP as well. So that is also why we are running 3 copies of it. Moving on to the more other cool monsters in this deck, I'm running 3 copies of the Primitive Butterfly, because this essentially can be summoned like a Cyber Dragon, and once per turn you can make all other insects on your side of the field increase their level, including itself. So in a sense, it's kind of like a level 6 Cyber Dragon. So it's really cool, again, because of how Red Resonator is a level 2 tuner monster. You can essentially get the Red Resonator to summon itself, and then special summon another monster from your hand, and then also have the Primitive Butterfly already on your side of the field. And then you can make a level 8 synchro accompanied by whatever monster you might have summoned with the Red Resonator. So again, that's another really cool thing, and again, it just functions as another easily summonable monster that you can use for your synchro summons. Following that suit, we have two copies of the Garbage Lord also. This again is very much like Primitive Butterfly. It's another really easy high-ish level monster that we can use for our Synchro Summons. As simply, we can special summon this card from our hand by paying 2,000 life points. Now, again, it's very much like Primitive Butterfly, but the thing is, unlike Primitive Butterfly, where you have to summon it like a Cyber Dragon, where you have no monsters on your side of the field, Garbage Lord is really cool because you can just simply special summon it whenever you want, as long as you have that 2,000 life points to pay. Again, it functions very well with Red Resonator, like I said before, because Red Resonator can eventually get you that life points back if you do special summon it. So it makes Garbage Lord's cost really not all that bad eventually too. We don't want to see this over Primitive Butterfly though, which is why I only have 2 copies of it. So yeah, that'll be it for the higher level monsters in this deck. Moving on to the other stuff, we have 3 copies of Heroic Champion, Assault Halberd, because again, it's another really easily summonable monster that we can use, and it's also searchable by Rhoda. So that is why we have 3 of this guy. We also have the 1 copy of Photon Thrasher, again, because it's another Rhoda searchable target. And it's a really good card to open up with turn 1, because again, it's a free monster that you can summon. Again, not eating up your normal summon is really important, because again, you want to commit those normal summons to things like Red Resonator or Red Sprinter. So again, it's really cool to have Thrasher in here as well. And then finally, for the last 2 monsters, I'm running also 2 copies of the Performance Hat Tricker because, again, it's another really easily summonable monster. And again, I also should mention that a lot of the other monsters in our deck are level 4 as well, so we can use this for some rank 4 plays too. So yeah, that's another really cool thing, and that will round off our monster lineup. Moving on to the spells, we have 3 copies of the Resonator Call because it's a Rhoda for Resonators, and this is the Resonator deck. So of course we have to have 3 of this card. Then for the other searcher cards, we have 1 copy of Rhoda, again, because you can search out our Photon Thrasher and our Assault Halberds. Then we also have the 1 copy of the 1-for-1 because it's another copy of Glow Up Bulb, essentially. And again, we really want to also get the Glow Up Bulb as fast as possible because we can essentially use it for 2 synchro climbing plays. So because of that and how strong those plays are in this deck, you really just want to see Glow Up Bulb ASAP. So that is why I decided to put in a 1-for-1 as well in this deck. Then for the other cards, is just I have 2 copies of Instant Fusion. I couldn't fit in 3 copies because I felt they really did clog. And I was very happy with how 2 copies worked out, so we only have 2 copies of the Instant Fusion. Then we also have a 1 copy of Mind Control because, again, this is a synchro deck, so having the ability to take your opponent's monster and then synchro with it is really nice. Then we also have the 1 copy of Soul Charge because we can use this to make really big boards in the later parts of the game. So, of course, we have to have the 1 Soul Charge. And then finally, for the last 3 spells, of course, we have to have the 3 copies of the Upstart Goblin, because what is a profile from me without the 3 Upstart Goblins? So that will round us off from our spells, and to our very minimal trap lineup, we have 3 copies of the Royal Decree, because this deck can lose a lot to back row. So we do want to have some really big blanketing negation effect for all those big traps that we don't want to deal with. And then I also run 1 copy of Emptiness. Now, I should mention that Decree is going to be functioning like a trap stun in this deck, because if you ever have Emptiness first, and then you have the Decree after, you can set the Decree, and then after when you want to go off, you can just simply flip the Decree, turn off your Emptiness, and then just go off from there. As usually, if you're in that position, you should be able to win if you can make a big enough board. So being able to turn off the Emptiness permanently isn't really that bad anyway. So yeah, that will be it for the trap lineup and the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we start off with the Red Dragon Archfiend. Of course, with the MVP himself, we have 2 copies of the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, of course, because this is the Red Dragon Archfiend deck, we're going to be trying to summon this guy as soon as we possibly can, because his effect is bonkers, like, for real. If you guys still don't know what this guy does, you should read him, because he's really good. I really love this card. Like, that's why I decided to get an ulti and a ghost rare off him, because I just love him so much. So yeah, of course, because he is the namesake, we have 2 copies of him. Then we also have 1 copy of the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, because this will help us get our multiple Red Dragon Archfiends onto the board, as again, he can simply tribute any other monster on our side of the field off to summon any Red Dragon Archfiend from our graveyard. And this also very much synchronizes with the Synchron Resonator, because it is getting sent from the field to the grave. You can also get the Resonator's effect to grab another Resonator from your grave, as well as also get that big Red Dragon Archfiend from your grave onto your board as well. So again, it's another cool interaction that this card has, and again, we really want to use it because it helps us establish our big boards. Then we also have 1 copy of the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, because this card can essentially negate everything. If we can ever establish the field of this card and this card, we should basically win, because this card can negate anything, including spells and traps, which is really cool. And then, of course, the Bane, like I said, can help us get those big established boards. So again, we have the 1 copy of Abyss in here to give us some sort of protection in this deck. So that'll be it for the, well, I guess you could say the newer Red Dragon Archfiends. For the old school one, the Big Daddy himself, we have one copy of Red Nova Dragon. This is cool because it kind of helps in the Cosmo matchup if we're speaking in a competitive sense, because it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell, traps, or monster effects. So it's immune to Cosmo Dark Destroyer, as well as it's a lot bigger than Cosmo Dark Destroyer. So that's another really cool thing that it can do, and on top of that, it looks really pretty as an ulti. So yeah, of course I had to include the Red Nova Dragon in here. And then finally, moving on to the other generic synchros, we have the one copy of Stardust Dragon to give us a little bit more protection in our extra deck. We have the one copy of Cyframe Lord Omega because this card is freaking busted. We have the one copy of Clearwing Synchro Dragon because giving us even more protection in our deck is never a bad thing. We have the one copy of Black Rose because we need to have a board nuke somewhere in this deck. We have the one copy of Goyo Guardian because it's still really, really good. And then, of course, finally, for the last synchro, we have the one copy of High Speed Roid Chanbara because this card can OTK, like, well, it cannot OTK in this deck because we don't have limiter removal, but it can push for quite a bit of damage by itself. So yeah, that will round us off from our synchro lineup. Moving on to the XZs, we just have two rank 4s in the form of Dweller and Castel because there wasn't a lot of room to put multiple rank 4s in this deck, so I decided to just put the two best ones, in my opinion, into this extra deck, which is the Dweller and the Castel. And then, of course, finally, for the last two monsters in our extra deck, we have the two copies of the Elder Entity Norden because, again, we have those two Insta Fusions. And I'll be bloody honest, I forgot the Yusei token in the last profile, and you guys can rest assured in this profile that I know I don't have the Yusei token this time, and it's solely because I think I lost it. I have to look through some of my comments again for it now, which is kind of depressing, but yeah, I gotta find my baby. I gotta find my Yusei token again, so that's gonna be fun. Without further ado, though, besides the Yusei token shenanigans, I hope you all very much did enjoy this Red Dragon Archfiend deck profile. Again, I would like to reiterate that this is not the most competitive deck out there. I did really just make this deck as a fun deck, and again, I didn't keep the metagame in mind when I did construct this deck. So again, I hope you guys all keep that in the forefront again before you guys start ragging on this deck if you guys do decide to do so. But again, I hope you all did very much enjoy this deck profile, and as always, this is QREM from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace out.